you always here? Or?
Oh, well, we've been here, what, 14 years now? I moved here when I retired from the prison. I worked in the prison for 20 years. And then I had to retire at 60, so it's compulsory retirement at 60, so we decided around that time that we wanted to move to Mud Lake, so we lived up in the park before that, you know, and we bought this place, I don't know, what, 8 or 10 years before that. I don't really.
We had it as a cabin first, as a cottage.
Yeah, we had it as a cabin first. It was pretty run down when we first bought it. Getting towards time for retirement, we started thinking about it would be nice to live down here, so I guess.
Your wife has family here?
Yeah, well, Anne is related to Craig. She's
okay.
And it's
so that was the
Craig's father's sister. Getting confused now.
Right. Yeah. So that was the attraction as well.
Well, we used to come down here a lot before that. I had a boat, and we used to come down here on, you know, days off and weekends and stuff like that. Anyway, I had an airplane at the time, so that's why that big shed there was a sort of hangar doors, and so and that was an ideal place for an airplane with floats and stuff. So I think that was a lot of the attraction as well. I was building the airplane long before we moved down here, so it must have been one of the first things we did. I'm trying to remember, but you know.
Were you both at home on that day?
Oh yeah, yeah.
And what was that day like for you guys?
Well, you know, when I look back at it, it was a bit of a non-event because we were expecting like the ice to break and the flood to go. You know, towards the evening of the day before, we were kind of water was coming in, and we were watching it, and it was coming up over the bank and stuff like that. And this happened once or twice before, so we weren't that concerned, really.
No,
just thought that, well, you know, that at some point the ice is going to break out, and you know, everything will be fine by the morning. So we watched it in the evening as you know, as it was getting dark, and you could see the ice pans and the stuff coming through, and it started to flood all around the house. And I don't know, we just thought, well, I guess we just figured it couldn't get much higher, because normally when it gets to that stage, it'll just break out in the mouth of the river and then it'll go, you know. So we figured by the morning it would be at least, you know, starting to go down or something like that. So we didn't think too much about it. Went to bed about 10 o'clock. We went to bed and just went to sleep, I suppose, and then we got the dreaded phone call at 1:30 in the morning, you know. And I was dead to the world. I couldn't wake up. You did all the phone calls and whatever had to be done. I was running around the days, you know. So,
what did it look like when you got up at 1:30 when you got to...
Well...
Was it looking any worse than 10
Oh,
o'clock?
God, yes. It was up to the deck. It was up to the deck here at that point. Anne answered the phone, and then all hell broke loose. And I thought, what's going on?
And then Jordan came down to pick us up, and we opened the door right there, and the water came pouring in. Yeah. Yeah,
and that's when I think I woke up and realized, oops, you know, we got trouble. And so anyway, Jordan came down with his little boat. And
so he came with his boat?
Yeah, right to the step there.
Right to our...
Right to the step.
Yeah.
And at that time the water was coming in through the door, you know. And we just grabbed what Anne had packed up and got in the boat. And the thing that struck me was, you know, the conditions were, it was pitch black, it was blowing, it was raining and snowing, but nobody, I wasn't a bit, at that point I wasn't scared at all. I wasn't worried, you know. We all piled in this little 12-foot aluminum boat, you know, 6 people, 4 dogs, bags and everything. Well, we picked Ozzy up, and then we went out through the front here and out onto the channel. and you couldn't see a thing in front. I mean, it was
We all
pitch
had little,
black. Had little flashlights and that.
each.
I mean, Jordan was amazing. I thought, you know, the way he. Because I mean, that boat was, you know, the gunnels were close to the water. You know, if anybody had slipped or. We'd have been gone.
We had 2 big dogs. I mean, if they had decided, you know, they didn't like each other, you know, anything could happen.
Yeah. When I look back at it, I find that quite amazing that nobody even got wet. Really. Hey, nobody even got wet, and I mean the conditions out there were horrendous. Huge pans of ice, and the speed the water was coming through here, and through Whitefish Channel and out into the channel. I mean, it's like almost a whitewater rapid. It was incredible. But nobody panicked.
And you got in a boat and went where?
We went out into the channel and we headed up towards the bridge. I don't know exactly what Jordan's plan was, but we kind of headed to the bridge, and we got close to the bridge, and we could see then with the flashlights there was huge pans of ice jammed against the bridge. So we thought, well, we're not going to get under the bridge. I guess that's what we thought. I wasn't really thought. Well, I guess we were all talking and saying what we should do and all that. So in the end, we got pretty close to the bridge, and we figured out it was not possible to get under. Or I guess what his plan was to go under the bridge, because there's a little place where you can climb the bank on the other side to get to the hall, but we couldn't get there. So we turned back and we went along basically to where Marion's house is, or a little bit beyond,
Just a little past Marion's.
Up that way. Yeah. Between Marion's and the bridge, there's a little gap in the bushes, and Jordan just drove the boat straight in on top of the bank there. And the water was as high as the bridge. You know.
So I guess spent the evening there at the community hall.
Yeah.
And
it was about, what, 2-ish by the time we got up there.
We went up
and
to
then
Craig's.
We stayed there a little bit, and then we went over to Craig's, didn't we?
Yeah.
Went over to Craig's, and then we came back to the hall, and we heard the helicopters were coming. And I think we were the first ones on the first helicopter anyway to
yeah, we were the first.
Get loaded up. We were on the first one.
You got on the chopper.
That's one thing I remember was that helicopter getting off the ground. And he had a full fuel load, and he got up to top. He got up to the treetop, and he couldn't get any further.
He had to come back down.
He had to come back down again.
Too much work.
Probably twice. I think he made 2 attempts.
I did once. I know.
And we were hovering for at least 5 minutes. Yeah. And he got up, like I say, he got up to treetop height, and he just sat there, couldn't get enough lift to get above the trees. So then he came down, and he tried again, and he hovered again, and then he came down, and I don't know what he did, but he must have given it super boost or something, because he managed to get above the tree. But we didn't. I don't think we went all above 100 feet all the way to the airport. We were, we didn't lift very much.
So how long was it? How long were you away from your home then?
A month.
About a month.
A month to the day, I think. Yeah. Well, I came down a few times. I came down with the chopper when they first started bringing all the inspectors. They wanted somebody to come down, so I came down with them. And then after that, I came down a few days. Yeah, this part here, up to the main, where you step up there, the water was probably level with that step there. Well, it was 2 inches below the height of the water. At the worst, was 2 inches below the main floor in the main house there. So the main part of the house didn't get all the insulation underneath and everything went, but it didn't come above the floor. So the main part of the house out there was okay. In the end, we decided, because I was coming down and trying to do stuff and work at it, but you had this thing, you had to come down in the morning and pack up and go back in the evening and all that, and it just wasn't working out. So we said, let's get the house usable, the main part of the house, and then we'd move back. And that's what we did. We moved back after a month, and then I started working at the house for a couple of weeks, I suppose. And then I said to Anne, I said, look, it's too hard for me to do. Let's get a contractor, you know. But at that time, we didn't know what was going to happen with the government, whether they're going to give us any money or anything like that. And I said, well, we can't live like this. We got to bite the bullet and say, let's get it fixed by somebody. So it was starting to affect me then. It was starting to get to me, you know.
Trying to fix up everything that's been
And
destroyed.
I mean, I'm 74. I just don't have the energy or the strength to do stuff, you know, the amount of stuff that needed to be done. And so
What's
we
it
said,
been
well,
like living here since that?
Well, it's
Not the same.
not the same, no.
No.
Not the same. I'm a sort of person who tends to get stressed anyway. And my stress level has gone up and up and up. The first 2 to 3 months, I wasn't that bad, was I? But and then I got involved in the bridge, the Joe Chow Bridge. We were at a meeting with Nalcor officials, and I asked them if they would be willing to help with village infrastructure as opposed to personal. I didn't think they'd be able to do anything with people's houses, but I said maybe you can help with the infrastructure. So I suggested that maybe they could have a look at the bridge and see if it could be, you know, fixed or repaired or replaced or whatever they could do with it, you know. So I've been involved with that, and I in fact just paid the bill for that today. So, you know, that's been a bit of a headache. I mean, it started off, the Vice President of Nalcor, Jim Keating, he said, yeah, we'll certainly have a look at it and see what we can do, you know. But the job got bigger and bigger and bigger because they sent engineers in to look at the site and survey the site, and they decided that the bridge that was there was like, I think it was 55 feet long, and because the ground was unstable, they had to make it 90 feet long to find stable ground. So the original plan was they had a bridge that they were going to give us from, it was in a warehouse or a yard or something in Deer Lake. And this bridge was 60 odd feet long, I think. So they said, yeah, well, we've got a bridge that we can give you, you know. So that was great. But when the engineers decided that the ground was unstable, they had to make it longer, then they had to do different drawings, and, you know, it all kind of got bigger and bigger and bigger. And they were starting to get a bit nervous towards the end because the price was going up and up and up, you know. Anyway, they stuck to their guns and they said, yeah, we said we'd do it, so they did it. It took 6 months, but so we got the bridge.
So you said that living here has been different.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
What do you mean by different? Like you're...
Well, I think the uncertainty of the future, what's going to happen this spring, you know, what's going to happen down the road, and, you know, it's not relaxing anymore. It used to be really nice and peaceful and quiet and do your thing, and, you know, what we look, but it's always in the back of your mind then, you know, what's going to happen this spring.
And
I don't think I've had a night's sleep since May 17th. Not a proper night's sleep. I can tell you that. You know, and Anne puts up with a lot of stuff from me. You know.
Do you see yourselves, you know, like, do you still see yourselves living here for a long period of time?
No, I don't. I don't know what the future holds, but Anne doesn't want to stay here. We're not going to stay here for the spring. We're going to move up to the valley for the spring because we don't know what's going to happen. And I just don't want to go through all that again. Everything that I can, I'm going to put up on stilts somewhere and, you know, tie everything on, tie all the boats on, and we're just going to move up until it's all over. It's just too nerve-wracking. Even just, I mean, it's completely different to what happened last year, because we knew, well, we didn't know there was going to be a flood, but I had said to several people from about February on that last spring that this is going to be a bad spring. You know, I knew that something bad was going to happen because of the amount of ice in the river and various other things. The thickness, the thickness of the ice, the height of the water when it froze in the fall before that. I just knew that this was going to be a bad spring. But it didn't really bother. It was not they say it's a natural event, but it wasn't a natural event. It couldn't have been. It was the power behind that water, you know, something happened.
What do you think the cause of this was?
It's a very complicated scenario. I think that the fact that the river froze up so high, and this is the bit I don't understand. I don't understand why the river froze so high, because, you know, they let a lot of water go 2 weeks before freeze up, but that water, you would think, would have made its way out into the bay before the river froze. So I always thought that amount of water that was let go 2 weeks before the freeze up was the cause of the high water, or the cause of the high ice, you know, freeze up. But I don't know. But then there are rumours and stories about Churchill Falls letting water go 2 or 3 days before the river froze up, or a few days before. You know, going across the river. Normally there's 3 or 4 sandbars. When you go out through this channel here and you go across on your skidoo, when you get halfway across, you start riding over the sandbars, and you can see the elevation change, right? Even when it's like it's all snow and ice and the trail is there and everything, you can see where the elevation changes, where there's a sandbar. And on the sandbars, there's no ice, it's just snow, right? And that from about halfway across to the far shore, there's maybe, what, 3 or 4 sandbars? And so you've got this, like this, going across, and you can see it in normal winter. But last year, that ice was flat as a billiard table the whole way across. So the ice was on top of actually forming on top of the sandbars. So last year, it was just solid ice from one shore to the other, and there was nowhere for the water to go. And then it came over this bank and came in through here. If we hadn't been surrounded by trees, this building would have been halfway to Wrigley. The only thing that saved a lot of the structures in this building, in this village, was the fact that we're surrounded by trees, and the trees took the brunt of the damage from the ice. I mean, out here at the end of this trail, you can see where the trees were flattened, completely flattened for about 100 feet in from the shore, and that was just where the ice built up, you know, and couldn't get in through the trees. I don't know what, I can't say for sure what happened, but
yeah,
it was certainly, it was so far above the normal extreme of spring that it had to be something to do with either Muskrat Falls or Churchill Falls, you know, mechanically letting go more water. And you know, if Muskrat Falls had let some water go, they may have let enough water go, and they might have thought, well, we got to let this go, but this is not going to be enough to do a lot of damage. But then maybe they don't talk to each other, and maybe Churchill Falls let water go at the same time, and the combination of everything and the fact that the ice was so thick and deep, who knows? I don't know. The main game is to get out of here somehow. I don't know how we're going to do it or when we're going to do it. But it's just, it's
so sad.
I mean, to walk away from this, we like this. This is the best house. I mean, it's not a big, or it's not posh, or it's not, but it's the best house we've ever had. It's comfortable. It's always warm, you know. This place is okay in the summer. Everybody's got a boat. There's enough boats here to get everybody out if there's a fire. And you know when you've got warning with a fire coming. You know, you've got maybe, even if you've only got half a day, you've got hours where you can get everybody on a boat and get them out across the river. If the dam goes, we got nowhere to go. Because the water, we're going to be heading towards where the danger is. If we go out of here, you know, and imagine what it'd be like in the winter time, you know. If that dam breaks in February, there'll be 3 feet of ice on top of all the water, and that'll all break up and come down here and just flatten this place.
You can't live like that.
You can't.
No.